I can't do this? How many of us have ever told ourselves that in a similar form or fashion before? Yeah, I know I have. Now, if it was in the middle of a Mediterranean jungle, please let me know, because I have just become the reincarnation of Raven Simone. Yes, I am a psychic. I am That's So Raven. Yes, yes. But if it wasn't that, if it was a real legitimate story, why do we say that to ourselves? Before we ever enter an opportunity, why do we immediately tell ourselves, I can't? Is it the fear that we're not good enough? Is it the fear that someone's gonna judge us? Is it the fear that we won't accomplish it? And what would be the consequences of that? Now, y'all, I might be a psychic, but I'm no psychologist. But when I do find myself chilling on my couch, binge eating on a whole bunch of chocolate chip cookies, which happens more often than I care to admit, while scrolling through threads upon threads of credible BuzzFeed articles, you can do two things. One, hand me my PhD now because I've just become super credible. And two, learn a whole heck of a lot about this crazy supernova we call the brain. Now here it is. 7 out of 10 of our thoughts daily are negative, right? With high presence on statements starting with, you guessed it, I can't. Why? Because it's our brain's survival strategy. The more and more times we tell ourselves, I can't, guess what? You're right. Your brain is trying to prove for what you say is true. So ask yourself this question. Why do we say I can't as often as we do? Now, y'all, we're talking about figurative trenches, all right? But I can remember a time where me and one of my really good friends, Hunter, faced our very own real-life trench. Now, I'll take you back with me. It's about 120 degrees dry weather in California. You can throw Toll House cookies on the ground and they would bake instantly. That is how hot it was in this part of our state. We were in Chico, California, and it was hot. So much so that me and my friend Hunter were like, dude, let's go find a big, beautiful pool of water. So we're like, all right, let's go. So we climbed 25 to 30 feet to the highest point in Chico called the Flumes. And we looked down to see our big, beautiful pool of water. Oh yeah, we're gonna go cliff jumping. And that was the only way that we can get down to this pool of water. Now, before we can ever start cliff jumping, there were 2 rules to cliff jumping that our friends needed to tell us before we ever attempted, because we were just beginners. 1, always pencil. I'm talking about those rare yellow number 2 pencils, you know those? Always pencil. And 2, always jump out. If you want your mama to see you the next day, you always jump out, okay? All right, so those two things, pencil, jump out. So a couple of my friends go, and then, it's my turn to jump. So I jump, following both rules. I got a concussion that day, but it's a story for another time. But my friend Hunter, I'm sitting on a rock, way down below, and Hunter goes up to the edge. She's nervous. I can see the sweat start to build. She keeps yelling, I can't do it. I can't breathe. I'm just gonna go back. I can't. And I told her from the rock below, I said, Hunter, don't you dare be a baby. We got here. There's no way of getting back. You can do this. I am the tiger. It's the thrill of the fight. Rising up. Singing a song to her to pump her up. She still stands there, very nervous. I can see under her breath that she says, I can't. And she jumps. Do y'all know what a baby cat looks like? Do y'all know what a baby cat looks like when your baby brother picks it up, climbs up on the roof and chucks it off? Well, that is exactly how Hunter looked that day. I mean, her arms were flailing, her legs were going everywhere, and she fell back first, 25 to 30 feet. It was something I never thought I would see in my lifetime. But I just witnessed one of my friends potentially falling to her death as she sank 30 feet above and sank for 30 seconds below. Now, two things ran through my mind at this moment. One, I could have lost one of my best friends. And two, I have a solid C+ in ag business right now. And Hunter is the only person who's keeping that grade afloat. If she doesn't come up, I don't know what's gonna happen to me. But then Hunter resurfaces. She's super dramatic, yelling and screaming, and she passes out on a rock right next to me. Now that day, Hunter was known as Disco Ball because she became two shades, white and purple. And if the sun hit her just right, there's a party everywhere Hunter went. Oh yeah. But listen to what she said though. She automatically told herself, I can't do this, and she didn't. Now, I'm not saying that if we start telling ourselves I can to something, that we're automatically gonna be good at it. But the more times we tell ourselves I can't, the farther and farther away we get from our goals. That trench gets wider because we start to believe that we physically can't do something. It rocks us to our core. How do we get rid of that feeling of I can't? Now we talked about figurative trenches, we talked about physical trenches. Now y'all walk back with me to a time in my life where there was an innate trench, an internal trench. The summer before my freshman year of high school, my family and I were homeless. We didn't know where our next meal was coming from. My sisters and I each had 3 outfits, and we'd cycle them amongst each other so people at school didn't know what was going on. We constantly jumped from house to house, not understanding what was going on, but just knowing that we had each other, and that was all that we needed. My life told me I can't physically, my life told me I can't emotionally, my life told me I can't financially, I can't, and guess what? I believe that. And because I believed that, I had significant trust issues. I couldn't go outside and talk to people because I was afraid of how they were going to perceive of me. And I constantly burnt myself down and couldn't believe that I could do anything. I thought my life was a reflection of how I should be without realizing that I was the only one in control of the outcome. That was until a shiny-toed, blonde-haired, green-eyed ag teacher came rolling into my life. It was the beginning of my freshman year, and I sat down the very back of the class, a little nervous of what was going on. My ag teacher rolls in, and she says, "Welcome to the future farmers of America." And I said, "Future what? Future farmer? Do you see all this hair? I don't think so, okay?" But she was like, no, you're gonna love it. So she grabs me by the shoulders, she throws me into this creepy white van, and we book it to my section speaking contest. And at that section speaking contest, I walked through the doors, and I looked around, and I realized that I was not the only freshman who was grabbed by the shoulders, thrown in the big creepy white van either. I mean, we had 3 boys on the ground, face first, looking like a bunch of sardines in the room. We had one of my girls looking at my man, the wall, for 15 minutes. And then we had these 2 people over here having a conversation about this random EM Tiffany dude, all in the effort to memorize and recite a 5-paragraph credo that would recognize FFA and agriculture's excellence. But excellent was not what I was feeling that day. I sat down at a desk and waited. I waited for my number to be called as my hands filled with sweat, my heart beat faster than ever before, and my breath thickened. Then suddenly, I heard my name called. 12? I popped up out of my seat like a newborn baby deer. I walked out of that classroom, outside, to the door of another classroom, did one of these, straight up out of High School Musical, and I went in. Now, y'all, I kind of started confident. I started with, as I looked at a panel of judges, The FFA Creed by E.M. Tiffany. I went through the first paragraph, pretty solid. I skipped the second paragraph, and I went through all the other paragraphs as fast as I could. I walked out of that room that day, and later on I would realize that I was second to last at that creed speaking contest. But I told myself, you know what? That girl, that urban girl, that girl whose life told her she couldn't amount to anything, that girl who didn't believe in herself ever before, that girl who had major trust issues, that girl did that. And I've watched my creed video 7 years later, and I'm completely embarrassed of how I looked and what I was saying. But I remember that I'm still so proud of what I've accomplished, and it's amazing what FFA can do if we allow ourselves to just take one opportunity to grow. If we allow ourselves to tell ourselves, I can. You see, before I went to that creed speaking contest, I looked at that door, I imagined it was a mirror, and I told myself, Bree, you can do this, and I did. I wasn't first in that contest, but I managed to roll through the creed. So you see, the more times we tell ourselves, I can, the closer and closer we get to our goals. That day, I moved just a little bit closer to trusting other people. What is a place in your life you can tell yourself, I can to? Now, y'all, after that day, I told myself, you know what? I kept saying I can't to agriculture, so guess what? I can. You know what I did? I went on www.backyardchickens.com. I ordered me a flock of chickens. I put them in my baby sister's bedroom for 8 months underneath a heating lamp, and then I put them outside for an awesome egg sales project where I sold them to community members and farmers markets across the city of Lodi, California. For you, maybe it's not agriculture. Maybe for you, you're telling yourself, I can't to being happy. Bree, I'm depressed. I've suffered with depression, and I'm sad, and I don't know how to be happy anymore. I can't be around people. Maybe you're telling yourself, Bree, I don't fit in with that crowd. I can't join that CDE. I can't play on that team. Maybe you're telling yourself, I can't to something after high school. Bree, I can't go to college. I can't afford that. Bree, I'm not smart enough to go to college. Bree, I'm not experienced enough to get a job in a vocational career. Bree, I'm not experienced to get a job whatsoever. Imagine the I can't in your life for just a moment. Snatch that I can't because I know it's there. What is that I can't in your life? Then when you find that I can't, stand at your trench. Stand at your trench and imagine that that goal of saying I can is all the way across the way. And then repeat these statements. I can be successful. I can be successful. Say it one more time. I can be successful.
I can be successful.
Say it with confidence. I can be happy.
I can be happy.
I can make a difference in my home, school, and community. I can be whoever I want to be. I can. There is this much of our goals still left. How many I can'ts can you say to get your goals closer and closer? We know that the more times we tell ourselves, I can't, the farther away we get. But look what happens when we tell ourselves, I can. The closer and closer we get to our goals. So ask yourself this question. What will you say I can to next? Thank you. Brianna, thank you.
you for your inspiring words and teaching us to keep it shui. We can't wait to see you at the National Convention this fall. And I have a special surprise for you, so will my teammates join me on stage? Okay, so y'all all know how to do the cadence count, right? We're gonna teach this California girl what it feels like to be a Clemson Tiger, okay? So on 3, 1, 2, 3. You ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. CLEMSONTIGERS. Fight, Tigers, fight, Tigers, fight, fight, fight. Woo!
Thank you so much.
Madam Secretary, do you have a record of any further business which should now be transacted?
I have a few announcements, Mr. President. Teachers, please turn in key fobs tomorrow if you are staying in dorms. Also, the sessions are being recorded and are posted online via YouTube. Session 1 and 2 have already been posted. Also, I would like to invite everyone to the Pickens County Career and Technology Center for a night of games, music, and friends. Please join everyone from the close of the session until 11 p.m. The address is 990 Chastain Road, Liberty, South Carolina. It's approximately a 10-minute drive. That is all, Mr. President.
Does any member know of any new or unfinished business which should now properly become before the session? We are about to adjourn this third general session of the 91st South Carolina FFA Convention. As we mingle with others, let us be diligent in labor, just in our dealings, courteous to everyone, and above all, honest and fair in the game of life. Fellow members and guests, please join me in a salute to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I now declare this session adjourned.
The sun goes down, the